Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. We're talking about the U.S. Senate race at the 11th hour here, just 2 days before Election Day. Patrick Morrisey is the Republican candidate. Where do you stand on opioids? I mean, we just had this massive bill signing, $8 billion here in Washington. What do you like about it? And are there things that we should be doing that weren't included?
I think fighting opiate abuse is the challenge of our time in West Virginia, and we have to do everything imaginable to stop the senseless death that's going on in West Virginia. Many people don't realize this, but I set up the first ever substance abuse fighting unit within the Attorney General's office. And we've been phenomenally aggressive on settlements, record-breaking settlements. We've had over $78 million in drug settlements. Whatever anyone says about it, they break the record and they compare favorably to national settlements that we've seen. Separately, I sued the DEA to fix their absolutely flawed national drug quota policy. That was responsible for spitting hundreds of millions of excess pills into the state. We've been rigorous looking at all aspects of the pharmaceutical supply channel. We're actually doing a lot of the money goes for treatment to get people better in their head and their heart, and faith-based treatment as well, which is critical. And then I'd also add, we do a lot of education and prevention. We're working tirelessly on this. That's why people have recognized we're probably more effective fighting this than anyone else in the state.
All right, but obviously you've seen the ads from your opponent. They criticize you for your work as an attorney in private practice, as a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., for Cardinal Health, for McKesson, for companies that are accused of dumping millions of opioid pills into the state, and many people say fueling the opioid crisis.
Yeah, but people know, if people do research, they know we weren't even involved in any of those opioid issues. So that's an example of Joe Manchin being a dishonest Washington liberal, because he knows better than to assert that we were involved in those issues in the private sector. When I got to be Attorney General, I rolled up my sleeves. There's been no one more aggressive in going after this epidemic. You know why? We have too much death. And all of us have experienced the ravages of the substance abuse problem. My family, people I know, everyone knows. That's why we've been so aggressive about it. And I'll tell you what, Joe Manchin was asleep at the switch during the substance abuse epidemic, and he's in bed with one of the largest makers of fentanyl, the largest recipient of campaign cash. This guy is in no position to talk.
All right, I know that this campaign is about the candidates and not the spouses, but he has been, he specifically has not been critical of your wife, but some people who support his candidacy say your wife continues to lobby for some of, or had after you left, some of these pharmaceutical companies that again are accused of dumping millions of pills in the state.
You know, it's unfortunate when people stoop down to attack my wife, and she's not involved. She's not been involved in any of the West Virginia pill issues, period. And I think once again, when people look at it, they know it. Whereas I look on the Manchin side, this has been a whole family affair.
Yeah, and when I talk about that, because obviously people who support you, I don't think you specifically, maybe have criticized his daughter and his connections to Mylan. His daughter's the CEO. Sure. We have the huge EpiPen price spike. And but why are the family members being drawn in this? Shouldn't this be about you and Joe Manchin?
It is about me and Joe Manchin. And here's the point I make about Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin, when Mylan was doing the skyrocketing EpiPen and all the problems, Joe Manchin stood up and defended Mylan's outrageous behavior. We had an investigation on that because we thought that the taxpayers were being defrauded. Joe Manchin thought that was okay. I don't think that's okay. I'm always going to stand up and fight for West Virginians, and he is going to always be trying to protect all his friends. One thing, Mark, you know, and a lot of other people know in this campaign, I'm not being backed by the establishment and the liberal media. We have the support of the people, but we also have the support of the president, and that's why we're gaining such ground.
All right, I want to quickly get to immigration, but yes or no, are you involved, or is there a settlement in the works with McKesson, as Senator Manchin alleges?
I think, once again, Joe Manchin is being dishonest for about the 11th time on this issue, and people know we've been very aggressive, and we always do the right thing when it comes to the substance abuse epidemic and everything.
We only have a minute. Where do you guys differ on immigration?
Yeah. Well, I think my record is very, very clear. I support President Trump's effort to build the wall, to go after these sanctuary cities, and clamp down on the open borders policies that are responsible in part for drugs flooding into our state. This is another big difference between myself and Joe Manchin, why he's a dishonest Washington liberal. His open borders policy helps all the illicit drugs, fentanyl, meth, and products flow into West Virginia, and we have senseless death. That's because of Joe Manchin, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton's open borders policy. Major differences between Manchin, liberal, radical, open borders, and I partner with the president.
All right, that's your. You got your 10 minutes in.
Nice
We're going to
see
hear
you.
from
Thank you.
Senator Manchin after this break. Stay with us on Inside West Virginia Politics.